Hello, good evening, welcome to another episode of Easy Gates Online Painting Club. My name's Danny, and for the next 2 hours I'm going to be joining you, keeping you company while you're painting your stuff. I'm going to be painting my stuff too. We've got a few people that joined us in the live chat already. I've got a Croaky Throat, I've got Table of Horrors, I've got Crumb Studios, I've got Kindred Lupus. Who else have I got? I've got Adrian Dean, I've got Geoff Lacey, that's my dad. Hi guys, how are you all doing? Thanks for coming along. I hope everyone's been well this week. If you're new here or you like what we do, we're not a tutorial show. It's just a painting club, man. You can just come along and paint your stuff with us. But if you like what we do, please do consider subscribing to the show. If you haven't subscribed already, please do click that little button, hit the bell icon as well. But it really just makes the community grow. Frankly, it just kind of brings more people in. The more people that hit the subscribe button, the more the YouTube algorithm loves me. All hail the algorithm. Tell you what, while you're at it, if you could hit the big thumbs up button as well. I think it's a little thumbs up button, but if you could just give it a thumbs up, I'll give you a second. Go on. I'm going to do that thing again where I drink my freshly boiled cup of tea. No, I can smell that it's really hot. I'm not going to do it. I'm going to put it over there. Anyway, please do subscribe to the show. It makes the community grow. We are getting bigger and it's so wonderful, but the more people to subscribe, the more people come along, the more people they can share it with. You know how it works. Give us a thumbs up, give us a subscribe. Follow us on Facebook if you want. We're not just here on YouTube, we're on Facebook, Instagram, Discord as well. So the show never stops. If you want to join us after tonight's YouTube show, you can join me and a couple of the other guys, whoever joins us at Discord at the EasyGate After Party. Links to all of our platforms are down there, downstairs in the description. I always have to reach over the top of my microphone boom. They're all down there. There's loads of links. Go and check them out. There's loads of links to other people as well, like other YouTube shows and Facebook pages that I just think are really cool, and people's businesses like my dad or whatever. Geoff Lacey over at Purple Line Creations. Shameless plug. There you go. Yeah, go and check them all out because they're really cool. The road to monetization, says Crumbs. We're a long way from that place yet. I mean, I think we're 20%. I don't do it for the money. I mean, if it pays, brilliant. But that's not the purpose. The whole point is for you guys to have 2 hours a week carved out, almost religiously, really, so that you can get on and do the things that you like. Because I know what it's like without a dedicated time slot every week, that you just kind of end up having a hoard of stuff that you never get painted. I've got literally the studio is an absolute tip. It's a nightmare, but it's just filled with unpainted models because I'm one of those guys that gets a little dopamine hit every time I buy a new thing. So the whole point of the show is to get through the stuff that you've painted. Now, you might be a collector, you might be a wargamer, you might just enjoy the painting. It's absolutely fine. It doesn't really matter. Do you know what? It doesn't even matter that if you're not painting anything, you're just coming along for the company. Do you know what? That fills my heart full of warm stuff. So come along and just join in the show. Loads of crazy people over here in the live chat. It gets a bit spicy sometimes. Come and join in those guys if you want to. Or just sit there quietly and watch as well if you want. Whatever it is that you're doing, I would love to know what it is that you're painting or building or whatever. So come and tell us all about it. Join in the live chat or the comments or whatever. And take a little picture, stick it up on Facebook or on Discord if you don't like the book face, because some people don't. And that's absolutely fine. But I'm genuinely inspired and motivated by the stuff that you do. And some of you guys have been doing some cracking stuff lately. And I must attest, John from Out of This World Models and Minis normally pops in and says hello, but he lives over in the States, so big time difference. I said I was going to watch your show, John, if you're watching this back later on. I haven't watched it yet. I will put my hands up. I really wanted to, but I've just been doing so many other things. I'm not working at the moment, and it's I feel like I'm busier. It's crazy. But tomorrow, I'm dedicating myself a morning to take some photos of some of the stuff that I finished recently, to update my Instagram account. And while I'm going to be doing that, I'm going to be watching your latest Alien video because, well, we all know that I'm a big fan of Alien. So anyway, there you go. What are the comments going in here? 20% closer than you were 5 years ago. Now, do you know what? Thanks for the ongoing support. I love you guys. I love you so much. Ladies love the Agrax. I don't know what we're talking about there. Strumpets love Nuln Oil. We all know it's all about the sepia, Seraphim sepia. Sultry sepia. No, not joining in that club. Danny's a bit naughty and like Basilicanum Grey Wash. Yeah, man, Basilicanum Grey Wash. I've got pots and pots of it. It's great stuff. We're going to actually be getting on to a project this evening that probably will involve quite a bit of Basilicanum Grey Wash. Anyway, please do subscribe. Hope you enjoy the show. Chill out for the next 2 hours. Let's go do some painting. To the workbench. Cool. So here is my very nuclear cup of tea. I said I wasn't going to do any more with it on the show, but I want to kind of show you where I'm at with it. Edward Scythehands, the Tyranid that I've been painting for what feels like a million years now, and that's why I'm not going to be doing any more with it. I've done enough with the Tyranid. It's been really cool, but I know the whole point of the show is to just focus and get on with the stuff that you're painting. But I run a show, and if I'm just doing the same thing every week, people aren't going to tune in. Steph has joined us. Aloha, all the way from Hawaii, apparently. Hi, Steph. Thanks for coming along, mate. Hope you're well. I'm not going to do any more. Excuse me, I'll get my words out. I'm not going to do any more of him on the show, but I'm going to show you where he's up to. He's very, very close to completion. I've been doing a little bit of work on him today. So here is Edward. He needs a tiny amount of touching up. Because as I've been handling little bits of graving coming off of like the highlights and things, I'm just going to neaten up the tops of these spore chimney thingies. I just need my focus, because my focus is a little bit out. Where is it? Where is it? About here? I'll do right. Yeah. So yeah, I need to neaten up the chimneys a little bit. That's fine. Easy peasy. And he's got a little bit of rubble that he stood on and actually needs kind of painting. The little pipes under his neck, I would like those to be a bit brighter and a bit more attention being drawn to them, but I'm starting to get in the right direction of where I want that sort of colour to look. But you know, it's different from everything else. It kind of blends in but not. It stands out a little bit. They're just these like venom pipes that they basically spew bioplasma out at you. So yeah, anyway, look, that's all done. His mouth's all done. I found a really nice way of doing the mouth parts. So you can see he's got the pinky goodness of the inside of his mouth. And rather than do the tongue violet and highlight it purple, I painted it purple and stained it with violet, and that worked really well. So now you can see distinct mouth parts in there. And his teeth are all nice and bright. His eyes have been kept white for now. I might end up folding and going blue, but I think he's got a really nice face there. All the difficult bits are all done. I think all the bone parts on him look really, really cool. Do you know what? I know it took me a million years to get there, but I'm really proud of him. Anyway, what does Edward stand on, I hear you say? Well, he stands on a pool of acid, or next to a pool of acid anyway. So, 90mm base with a resin crater made by my dad at Purple Lion Creations. He moulds those, by the way, so if you want one, they're like a couple of quid, and he does them in all different sizes. I've got here an enormous like sulfur spout. That's too big, and like you wouldn't be able to stand on it, but that is kind of cool, right? And I've got a couple of different craters here. So that one's just made in a brighter resin, that's all it is. But that's the largest one, that's the middle-sized one, and the one on there is just a little bit smaller again. It's just been glued on, and then I made a little, not milliput, but I use Magisculpt, just kind of blended it into the ground, and I made like another pool behind him. And what I've done in the past with the acid pool stuff is I have like just kind of painted onto the base what I wanted, and then gone over it with a gloss varnish. But I've never done anything with depth before. I've always like simulated depth by just painting straight onto the base. So today was all about having a good crack with resin. Just put a fingerprint in that, which is a little bit annoying, but I'm still not done with it yet. You can see my fingerprint I just put into it. Because this is UV reactive resin, and it's been a bit of a struggle. It's very reflective. This one here came out better than this one over here did. Actually, if I was to kind of get the light off it, you can see that in the brighter parts, the paint's kind of cracked as it dried. It's kind of shriveled and left these lines in it, and I'm not too keen on that. I'd like it all to be a little bit nice and smoother. But the fact I've left a fingerprint in it tells me that it's not completely cured yet. It is from Green Stuff World. I really like it, but it's very, very viscous, and you really have to give this tube a squeeze for it to come out. It's not runny at all, which means that it's got, I don't really know what the correct term is, but it's something to do with its viscosity and its stickiness. It has a very, very high surface tension, which means that when it reaches to the edges of something, it doesn't just kind of go boop like that. It wants to shore, and it basically draws upwards. Or if you haven't kind of pulled it up against the surface enough, it kind of pulls down like that, so it never really truly meets the edge. And you can see where the light's reflecting around the edges. You can see how that's kind of betraying the illusion. that's fine. This whole project has been about just learning new stuff, or kind of just stepping away from stuff that you end up kind of overdoing, if that makes sense. But yeah, I'm going to play around with them a little bit more, and when I'm happy with them, then I'll glue him onto his base. I'm going to do some red weed things on there as well, some little bits of fauna, a nice red colour that will really pop against this colour. I've been playing around with the colour of my Tyranid bases for ages and ages, and what I wanted was a soil colour that looked like that every ounce of nutrients had been absorbed from the soil, so you're just kind of left with a black or a greyish nothing. And I've really struggled to get something that doesn't blend away with the Tyranid carapace, but looks like they're kind of, you know, being a part of the environment. You know what I mean. I'm really happy with that. It came out really well, and I know that a red weed thing on there will look really good in a nice stark contrast. To cure this, you need a UV torch. And it just needs to sit in the window, maybe away from my cats, for some time, just to cure a little bit. Fingerprints in it, not a problem. I can put some more resin on it. I can gloss over it. Gloss over it. Whatever. Doesn't take very long for it, but apparently I didn't do it long enough because I've had the fingerprint in it, and it shouldn't leave a fingerprint. Anyway, when all is said and done, lording over his acid pools, his reclamation pools, that's what they're actually called, reclamation pools, because they go around and they eat everything, and then they just either spew it up into these pools, be sucked up by giant ships in orbit, or if they're smaller organisms like gaunts or rippers, they just throw themselves into it because, you know, everything gets reabsorbed. Cool, huh? So that's Edward. I'm going to put Edward over here now because he takes up just a little bit of space. I reckon he'll be finished within the next day or two at most. But what am I moving on to? Before I move on to that, I'm just going to make sure that I catch up with the comments here. Stafford says that he's currently eating his toasted cheese sandwich. Oh, with toasted cheese and Marmite sandwich. Yeah, man. Marmite's good, but I don't add it with cheese. Dipped in rum. It's been years since I've spewed bioplasm. Told you it's a spicy chat, didn't I? Get a cream for that? No, you can't. Don't put cream on your inside of your throat like that. No, Geoff, don't have a problem. Right, okay, cool. Apparently, I'm a level 1 painter on the Discord. Yes, on Discord, as you interact with the server itself, you will basically go up in points, and you're all called painters. My phone is not on silent and is just suddenly exploding. There we go. Cool, brilliant. I'm a famous person. I'm on TV. Tyranids, the ultimate scavengers, recyclers. Yeah, absolutely, man. Vote yellow for yellow party. No, green. It's the problem with the UV resin when you're in the UK. You need sunlight. Yeah, you do. It just hasn't stopped raining, has it? Crazy. Hope you guys are all staying cozy and dry. Right. Here we go. It's a raven. This is a 15mm raven, 3D printed by Kez, who I can't remember if I said was in the live chat. Oh, there's Kez. Hi, Kez. Hi, all. Playing Space Engineers while watching, so won't be chatting. That's absolutely fine. But I bet you'll probably pop in and say hello now that I said hello to you directly. Kez knows that I like Battletech. Not as much as Kez. Kez is like a complete nerd for it. And we have played MechWarrior Online and other MechWarrior and Battletech games in the past, and Raven is one of my favourites. It's a very small mech, and it's kind of a tactical support mech, so it's kind of got all like the Beagle active probe. That sounds cool until you shorten it to BAP. It's got targeting computers, and it's basically something that runs around and spots other targets, so that the bigger, better stuff with missiles or whatever can go in and completely ruin their day. And I really enjoyed that playstyle in the game. So Kez went and made me a 15mm mech. Now when Kez gave it to me, she said, be careful, the weapons will fall off if you touch them too hard. Okay, cool, brilliant. And then my partner was like, ooh, can I have a look? And I hand it to her, and immediately, she didn't even touch the weapon, it like, just kind of fell off. So, one of the things I've got to do is give it a bit of a clean up, but today I've got to try and pin the weapons on. Now, comes in several parts. Hi, Kez. Yay, Raven. Comes away in several parts. So I've got the legs and the bottom part of the torso there. I got the basically the head or the cockpit, if you like, and then two guns or two weapon bits. Now, this bit here fits into there really quite easily, but this little pin lug, let's call it a lug. This bit here is a little bit too big. So when I put it in there, you can see that it sits up a little bit. I don't really mind that, but it wobbles around a little bit. So I'm just going to practice by basically just vigorously sanding that top bit down until I'm happy, basically. So yeah, that's that. Francois has joined us. Hi, Francois. How you doing, mate? Yeah, and you can see that, like, on the back, there's a little bit of mess and stuff here, and that's nothing too traumatic. That is basically just where the 3D printer supports have been in contact, and this resin should clean up pretty well. If it doesn't, it's just a 15mm model. I'm going to have fun. It's just nice to have it, and it's a nice gift. Thanks very much, Kez. Really appreciate that. So, yeah, you can see there's like a few little white dots and things in there, so hopefully you see the white dots just inside in here. I can see them a bit more clearly on my screen, perhaps. But yeah, basically, today is going to be Easy 8 online building club. So I've got to kind of do a little bit of work to prepare it to be painted. How am I going to paint it? Very good question. I don't necessarily have... I don't really know an awful lot about the kind of the background, the lore of Mech Warrior. But I know a little bit about the houses, and I can't really settle on a favourite one. So I've been, over the years of playing the games and things, I've been trying to kind of narrow down what my favourite one is. And I've always liked the idea of the Rasselhague Free Republic, or the Free Rasselhague Republic, or whatever it is. That's it, the Rasselhague Republic. Basically, it's Vikings in space. They're not like Vikings. They just have like a Nordic community. I just kind of like them. They do get trounced on a little bit. They are the underdogs. They get beat up a little bit, which is a shame. And I'm just trying to, just securely off the edge of the screen here with my phone, find a picture of a mech that I'm sure I've got saved here somewhere. There it is. There are lots of different colour schemes, lots of different patterns and things like that. And I found one that I was particularly fond of. This is a Catapult K2, and I really like that. I would try to get this image to actually load on the main screen like I used to back in the very, very early days of Easy 8. I used to do Community Corner, but actually have photos and images come up on the screen. For some reason, the software that I stream with does no longer allows me to do that. So now you have to look here at these images on my phone. So anyway, yeah, I really like that. What colours are we really looking at here? There are three main colours that I can see. There is a silver, there is a turquoise, and there's an aqua colour on there. And I've seen various different blues, aquas, turquoises, and whatever being used on this particular army, for lack of a better term, army. And there's also some silver in there. There might be a little bit of grey in there, but I'm going to try and not overcomplicate it too much. This is quite a large miniature, because I believe that might be a 28mm model down there, which means that that's quite a beast on the table, which is fine. Cockpits, as far as I'm aware, in the background lore, I think that they're all the same, so they should be kind of almost semi-transparent. So you should, like, if you want to maybe like shining a light on them, you might be able to see through them. Very, very heavily tinted, but orange. So, and I think that's a really nice colour contrast. A little bit like the red that I was talking about with the red weed on my Carnifex model. So yeah, I quite like the way that the camouflage, or it's almost like a dazzle effect on there. So I'm going to do some masking. So I've got some like masking tape ready to go. But first things first, I'm just going to like get the model cleaned up, and then I'm going to start with the silver, and that's why we're going to use a bit of Basilicon and Grey. I might Basilicon and Grey all over it, because I think that those colours will suit that kind of a wash. So that's where I'm at with that. I'm not going to really worry too much about iconography. That's the word I was looking for. Decals and things like that. I'm not a Battletech collector. I could try and freehand it, but I do believe that these guys have got like a Hydra on a shield. So no, I'll just paint it up in a nice camouflage thing. Unless anyone's got any Rasselhaig 15mm decals, cool, whatever. Hasn't got a base, might put it on one. See what happens. See how I'm feeling. So yeah. Anyway, there we go. That's that picture there. Oh, Steve Jenkins has joined us. Ooh, a raven. Yes, a raven. Hi, Steve. Hope you're doing well, mate. Nice to see you again. Just catching up on the comments. Are they the house that merged with Clan Ghost Bear? Absorb would be a better term, but yes, says Kez. Freak? Okay. Thanks, Crumbs. A better? Fiery biscuit base, please. Okay, cool. It's all getting a bit weird. So, why do these weapons fall off the side so easily? Because the pivot points, the attachment points, are really quite shallow. That's fine. It was a free gift. I'm not going to complain about how it was made. So, what I'm going to do is probably take these bits off just for a little bit of easier cleanup, maybe. Might be easier to paint as well. And that's probably a very good point. If I've learned anything from the last model, maybe sub-assemblies are a good idea. And I'm probably going to pin them, which means I need to get out my little drill. I've got a little pin vice drill. I've also got a little Proxon Dremel style drill. And then super glue, a bit of paper clip or something in there. And then job's good. So yeah, some lasers, some short-range missiles. I believe that's a tag, which is a laser spotter. I believe that's Narc. It could be the other way around. I think that might be Narc, which is basically a missile that attaches a spotting radar thing to the enemy, and everyone can see them no matter where they are. It's great. So I'm just going to pull this off. Yeah, lovely. Right. So I'm going to move the microphone a little bit over here and pull myself in a little bit closer, because I need to start looking at it a little bit closer. Now on some of these parts, they're probably going to be quite easy to clean up. There's a little bit of a lip on the attachment point in there. I don't know if that's super glue that was holding it on previously, or if that is a part of its design. I get out some of my cleaning tools here. Got the Marmite tool, or yeah, John will like that. I've got various grades of sandpaper pads, 180 for now. That's a bit on the rough side for this resin. Go down to, I've got 600 there. I've got 400 there. And I've got a 280 there. I think, start with a 400. I think resin can be quite delicate. The Forge World resin, I've noticed, kind of as you're scraping it or sanding it, it crumbles. And this is very similar. My first time really playing it. Got a scalpel, so yeah, gotta watch me live on stream, open myself up and bleed profusely everywhere. Today has been a day of accidents as well. I have ruined my brand new pair of jeans that I'm wearing right now when I was playing with a green shade earlier on the Tyrannid. This fella here, really nice colour, Celia green shade, and I just put it away and I looked down and it's all over my jeans. I have no idea how it got there. I didn't knock it over. It must have been like there might have been a blob or something on there, and I might have like popped it shut and it sprayed, or maybe it wasn't closed properly and I shook it up. Those Games Workshop pots, man, oh, they're dangerous. They're lethal. Got itchy nose. Okay. So some parts are much cleaner than others. This bit just a little bit. Try to get it back into focus because I'm working quite close to my face now. That's a bit better, isn't it? There we are. Super glue on standby. There's always super glue on standby. Okay, that does look a little bit of resin sticking up there. Is it? Oh, hard to say. Nice to be able to see that little circle that's left on there though, because that will give me an indication where I'm going to drill the hole later on, because otherwise trying to like line it up will be really difficult. If anyone's ever thinking about getting these little sanding pads, do it. They're really handy. These ones were gifted to me also by Kez. Thanks, Kez. You give me a lot of stuff. Kez has been screaming at me for ages. Do some Battletech stuff. Do some Battletech stuff. And I've been like, yeah, man. Get to it. I'll get to it. And I just never have. But when Kez brought this around me a little while ago, it was the time, wasn't it? It was absolutely the time. I do love Battletech. These weapon parts, to be fair, are actually in very good condition. This is just like a really cheap, really old watercolour brush. Really handy for doing this sort of a job. Really light and soft. Nice to touch. Okay, weapons are done. Didn't expect them to be done so quickly, to be fair. Okay, the main head. Well, actually, I think they're called torso parts. The torso. So I'm just going to basically take my time and just work my way through section by section. So if I started with stuff in his window, if I start on the nose and work my way across the top and then go back to the point of the nose and then work my way underneath. On the back and on the underside, I think, is where most of the stuff is that needs removing, but just to be safe and sorry, I can see that there's like a little contact point right there, so that's good. Geoff says, just thinking, could you use Battletech robots with water tanker rules? You could do, but there is a Battletech game that plays very similarly, and it's called Alpha Strike. In fact, Kez and myself were playing it just the other week. The first time I ever played it, I was actually just like first time luck, I think, but I was really good at it. And then when I played Kez recently, I got taken apart. Works my way from the nose here. I'm not expecting to do an awful lot of stuff on the top. Clean up. Might just be like the occasional tiny little nub, little contact point, and I'm not even going to bother trying to clean up the tiny little ones. A little bit of paint on it, you'll barely notice it. The detail on the back of this thing is insane. Look at all this framework here. It's incredible. And I think that wasn't glued on separately afterwards. I think that is how it printed. I love a resin 3D printer, right? There are some little nubbins just on the back there. Slight fracture in that. But fine. Come away from the hull. I'll drop a bit of super glue in there later. Perhaps these were super glued on. Kez might be able to tell us. These little framework bits, were they glued on the back? Or were they printed like that? throw it on the floor. Why not? I think. Again, unless it's really, really mucky, and there's a couple of mucky bits on it, I'm not going to like get too precious. That's amazing work it is printed, says Steve. Yeah, you're absolutely right. I think looking at it, it does look like it's being glued on, but normally when you glue something on, you can see like a tiny spot of shiny glue that's just come out around the side. It's all perfectly in line, so I think it was printed that way, and I think there's just a couple of snaps right here. I get actually in the shot of the camera. So there's a break here, and there's a break here. If I did this, you can see it move. It says, no, printed like that. One did break, taking off the support, sadly. There you go, Steve. There's probably some of the hardest bits to clean are going to be these wheels. Now, they're mostly going to be underneath the mech. You're not really going to see, but there's a couple of nasty little bits here. So what I'm going to do, edge of the blade facing, I'm going to run them sideways. Good. The reason I'm not using the sharp edge is if I slip, I don't want to go into my thumb. But also, if it comes off really easy, I end up gliding through. I could end up doing quite a bit of damage to the model itself. Just gentle, just like that. And if it starts to get a little bit harder, I've kind of now sort of worked out the resistance. I can tell, and open myself up like a tip. Now, from what Kez was saying to me, this isn't a model that Kez has designed. I mean, not designed, but you know, like generated three-dimensionally on a piece of software. It is a model that was designed online first. Kez found it, and what the work Kez did put into it was working out what scale it needed to be. So working out all the percentages and things like that, and that's an art in itself. So well done for getting the scale right. I think Kez said by a tiny fraction it's within 15mm. So if you wanted to play it against World War II tanks in What a Tanker, you could. The scale is right. Is it Silver's Scratch Built Productions has joined us. Hi Silver, thanks for coming along. How are you doing, mate? What are you working on this evening? What is that you are cleaning? Silver asks. It is a 15mm Raven from Battletech. Guns are just down here, but yeah, it's so cool. 3D printed for me by Kez in the community as a gift. Thanks, Kez. Looks like a heat vent. Yeah, don't think Ravens have jump jets, but you could argue that. It's these little tedious bits that just require a little bit of patience. If you rush it, you're going to ruin it. First place. And it is coming away. Take my time. Those are all different individual like heat exchanger manifolds. As I'm pushing the scalpel blade through them, They are moving. Kez says, my friend George did edit it so it had the right weapons. Oh, wicked. Thanks, George. That tells you that I played with this mech so much in the games that we used to play together. Kez remembers my loadout. I think it is the Raven 3N. I think that's as good as I'm going to get there. That's okay. On to the next one. Bad. "3L." Ah, yes, Kez. Thank you very much. The 3L. You are correct. Not that I'm gonna quibble about that. It's just a letter, but yes, you are correct. For those people that like to know all that sort of stuff. Okay, so I'm just going to go back to the nose now, and I'm just going to look underneath. You can see all these little spots under here. I'm actually, unless there's anything that's really going to get in the way of me painting, just going to leave those little bits under there. I've got no issues with them whatsoever. You're just not going to see them. I expected the cleanup to take a really, really long time. After this little bit on the back here, it's been cleaning up really, really smoothly, really easily. There's going to be bits, because it's such a detailed model, really, it's such a small scale and such a high resolution. There's going to be bits that you can't, you know, unless I start going in there with archaeology recovery tools, whatever, you know. And I'm not. I just want to paint the model and have it look cool on my shelf. That's what I want. So yeah. Just feel the edge of that scalpel with my thumb tip. That would have been interesting, wouldn't it? Okay. I think by and large, I'm actually happy with this. Wish I could get a bit more out of these vents here. Kind of a blobby bit just there. I'd like to be able to get out a bit. Hello. What do you know? It worked. Ace. tiny little spitty bits, is what my old colleague would say to me. If we have spitty bits in the office, they're getting everywhere. Usually an image of me going around the office spitting at everybody. But there we go. That's cleaned up way faster than I thought it was going to be. Because this is all one large piece here, I think this is going to take a little bit longer. That's fine. I think I might start off with just a fun grindy bit of just getting this nubby bit down here. The pin? Yeah, why not? But tea. Loads of comments going in. Hard to keep up when I'm focusing on the building in front of me. Looks like you're having a conversation that I might end up just kind of interfering with, so I'll see if I can catch up with it. Right. Heaviest sandpaper, which is 180. And I'm just gonna bit of a sound here. Now there's a danger here doing this way. I could end up kind of going at a bit of an angle and kind of chamfering off one edge, and that might make him a bit rockier. If it's going to become a problem, I could put it down like this and then do it like that, but I still could like tilt to the model and end up doing it as well. However, I don't think that it really matters if the Raven's cockpit torso part is going to sit on the bottom part of the chassis here, just going to spin around. I don't think it'll be a problem. So for now, I'm just going to take it down a little bit. Just see, I don't mind if there's a tiny little like 0.5 mm gap at the bottom. I think that might suit it. It will certainly, as I'm spinning it around, it'll stop it from kind of getting any wear and tear on any paint on the top there. But as long as it doesn't rock when it's on it, I don't want it to rock. Could be also that there's like leftovers from supports on the inside in there, so that could also be having an effect too. Pop it on here. You can see it's got a tiny bit of rock in there. Okay, cool. Let's just quickly get this tool inside. It was a tiny contact point, but barely anything really. Interestingly, the interior ring actually has like the teeth for a turret ring on the inside. Cool, huh? I think every now and again I'm going to be picking this bit up, and I'm going to be doing a little bit more cleanup on here. Even though I said I was happy with it, the ADHD part of my brain that says do a bit more, do a bit more. Wow. Pretty much eliminated that rocking almost entirely. I don't want to be doing too much sanding because I know that resin dust is quite nasty stuff, and while I do have good ventilation in this room, I'm not wearing a mask right now and I don't know where it is, so I'm just going to do just a tiny bit more of this, doing a tiny little amount on a toe or a laser or whatever, not a massive problem. But this is, as you can see, like it's building up quite an extensive amount of debris on the sandpaper there. You can see that Silver Scratch Beetle Productions is getting another subscriber. Well done, congratulations. You know what? I have not subscribed to you, I don't think. So at the end of tonight's show, count yourself in with another. version. Okay. There's a slight amount of lean. If I was just going to rock him this way, it just barely moves. Barely moves that way. But if I push him this way, it tilts it a bit more. But negligible. Whatever, who cares? Right, so a little bit of a clean up, and I'm happy to kind of move on from that chunky bit there. To say, not very well ventilated in here. Well, it is well ventilated. I'm not wearing a mask. The correct sentence. So, I'm going to start here on the top of the left leg, and then I can work my way down the front, down the back. And the reason I'm being so specific about how I'm tracing my, my search movements, if you like, is because my attention wanders so frequently that if I was painting, I'd be painting this bit. I notice a bit over here, so I'll go down there and I'm like, oh, and then I'm onto the other leg. And before you know it, I've missed 16 different pieces, and I'm only supposed to be painting one leg. So, yeah, I am going to take my time and work my way around it. Now, I can see some little score lines in the top of the leg here. I think you can see almost like little scalpel blade marks. See these right here? Those are fairly certain print lines. So I could try and sand those down. It might be that as I paint it, they sort of get filled in a little bit. You can also see that it's kind of faceted. And that might be a part of the design. It might be that that is a part of the polygonal features rendering and printing that as a circular piece. Kez will probably be able to tell me now if I should try to sand that out or I should just leave it, or if it's supposed to be there or not, or whatever. It might not sand out so easily, and there are some other details in the way, which might mean that I was able to sand this bit really easily, and maybe down here, but trying to get it into there could be quite difficult, so I might end up wanting to leave it. I'm not entirely sure yet. I could certainly sand those little lines out, but that's not a part of the nubbin cleanup. That sounds great. Silver saying, just another in the long march to 10,000 subs and a non-stop stream to build and paint a 40k Warlord Titan. 10,000 subs. Well done. Are you over 1,000 then? Good for you if that is the case. Congratulations. What a milestone. I'd love to be 1,000 subs plus. Not because it is with the potential. Because it means that the show is successful. And if the show's successful, it means it's bringing a little bit of meaning to people, and that's really important to me. I've said this story so many times, so I'll just read between the lines, paraphrase, if you will. I was only going to run it for a year, maybe even less, as a way of just kind of bringing people together during the COVID lockdown, and I was going to stop, thinking that I'd had my fun. Everybody enjoyed it for a little bit. People's lives are going to kind of carry on and do what they want to do now. And then people were just reaching out to me privately off the channel. They're like, please don't. Like, my mental health really needs this. That's really valuable. Really, really liked it. I'm like, yeah, I get it. Easy 8 is here. Kez says, I would leave it as it is. Looking at the MWO design, it looks more like panels than circular. Yeah, it did look familiar. And it could be just the way that's the way it's been rendered in the game as well. But, I'm going to leave it. I'm going to try and get those little lines out of it. I'll give it a bit of a sand down. I'll try and fill it if I really... as I sand it a little bit, you can see there's little light patches appearing. That's because those areas are getting sanded first, which means there's slight lumps in there. You won't always get just like true little bumps, nubs. You'll kind of almost get like it on a flat surface, a bit of a bowing out. If I kind of get it into the right orientation, you can see that that panel does bow out a little bit. That's just because he was right at the bottom. Oh, look at that. I've just, live on the show, I've just got a brand new subscriber. That is Silver Scratch Built Productions, has just subscribed to the channel. Thank you so much, mate. I really appreciate that. That is really, really kind of you. And it's really rare that we get a live one on the stream. So thank you very much. It's made my evening. You know what? Celebratory cup of tea time. Thank you very much. No, I'm just 250 subs. Well, you're ahead of me. Thank you very much. Really appreciate that. Yeah, so I'm going to just try and sand it a bit more. And you can see now that like, the other areas start to get a bit more whiter on there, paler. Which is a little bit more effort now. The rest of it's starting to go flat. That is obviously getting rid of all the little nibs, nubs, bubbles, bumps, lumps, whatever you want to call them. There's also flattening that panel out. Not true flat 100%, the flattest thing you've ever stood on Rick and Morty style, but better than what it was. Of course, I don't want to leave any kind of like marks or lines in it, so nice circular motions now. I'm going to come in with my 600, which is my lightest one, just to kind of buff it out. Oh, on my screen, my camera is going really weird. Is anybody else getting that? Let me know if my camera feed is going really, really mental. You tell me. If it is, I'll come away from this screen and come back in again. If it's just on my monitor, then I'll leave it for now. It all going all over the place for you guys. Gotta wait because there's a delay sometimes between me saying something to you guys hearing it and then you guys typing and then me seeing it. Yeah, it's glitchy. Okay, cool. Give me a second. Let's come away from here. Hi. Model's going well. Let's go and have a look back at the workbench camera. Could be that the camera's like on its way out. That could be bad. I've got a spare. Oh, well, that's no good. No good at all, is it? Oh no. Well, let me just have a little look if I can go behind the scenes. Oh, this is the joys of having a live stream, is that sometimes these things just happen. I'm going to take you... I was going to say I was going to take you behind the curtain, but actually I don't need to. I might just be able to do it here. Let's go and have a little look. Can I... Nope, gonna have to go behind the scenes. The other camera seems good. Yeah, I got multiple cameras, and this one that has gone all glitchy is a Logitech CR920, C920, sorry, C290. One of those, one of those combinations, and then the other one that you can see me on's a face cam. Let's have a quick look. Early halftime break? Yeah, maybe, but I can't sort the camera out in the break time because I need it to be live on the screen for me to be able to do it. Because I'm a tech noob. So bear with me a second. Here we go. This is behind the scenes. You can't see me now, but you can still hear me, obviously. So what I'm doing now is I'm just trying to work out some stuff on the camera itself. So I'm going to just deactivate the camera and see what that does. It appears to have done very little. I might need to come away from this camera a second. Here we go. Back to me. A C920 Shiv to, answer your question there. Back to the workbench then. Oh no, it doesn't like me today at all, does it? Okay, cool. I might need to disconnect it potentially. That could be a shame. That could be the end of the stream. That would be sad. Activated the camera. Bear with me for 2 seconds. Okay, I'm going to swap it out to another camera that's got a cover over it so we won't be able to see anything. It's definitely a problem with my camera because it won't deactivate. So during the break, I'm going to disconnect it, and hopefully reconnecting it will start it over again. Anyway, let's come away from here. This is a silly place. It is fortunately right at the time. I'm waving my hands under the camera, it's still not working. We are fortunately at the right time for a break anyway, so no big dramas there. I can still carry on doing the thing and like hold up to the screen so you guys can see it. We've actually had problems like that right back in the early days of Easy 8 when I used to run it off of a laptop of all things. Anyway, so I'm going to try and sort out my camera issues. I'm definitely going to go and change my paint water because there's a distinct possibility that I might get to put a little bit of paint on my miniature today. And it's still got powder pigment in it from earlier on. And it's just gross, isn't it? I'm also going to go get myself a grown-up juice. So maybe you guys want to go and do the same for the second half. Go change your paint water. See you in a minute. Bye-bye. So rude, Shiv. Oh, yeah. It's grown-up juice time. So, I did a thing with the camera. And I haven't checked it yet because it was in the intermission. So, well, I hope it works. Anyway, welcome back. Hope you had a good break. Hope you've got yourselves a nice refreshment. If you've got a grown-up juice, you've got a grown-up juice. Cheers. Happy weekend. It's Friday. Might need a bit more Coke in it. I'm a grown-up. It's all right. It's all good. Yeah. If you're new here and you don't know what we're all about, we're just a painting club, not a tutorial. You might learn something on the way, but it's more about kind of bringing people together. So if you haven't already and you do like what we do, please do consider subscribing to the show because it would really make my day. I can have rum, says stuff, but you can help yourself. Just, you know what happens when you do? You end up throwing tanks in the bin because you can't paint straight, right? If you want working on something this evening, do come and tell me. Let us all know about it over in the live chat, wherever the live chat appears on your screen, because I think on some different formats it appears in different places. But yeah, come and talk to us about it. Share some photos. So if you've got a photo of any of the work that you're doing right now, stick it up on Facebook, put it up on Discord if you want to, because we're not just here on YouTube. All links to all of our platforms are just downstairs in the description of this video. Go check them out. With a host of links to all other places, places like John from Out This World Models and Minis. And during the intermission, I just subscribed to Silver's Scratch Build Productions, so you can bet yourself that next week there will be a link to Silver Scratch Build Productions in there as well. Because that's what this is about. It's a hub for the community, for people to come together and do stuff and share in the hobby and the love that we have for it. So yeah, cheers for subscribing. Subscribe. Lovely. Anyway, cool. If you haven't already thumbs up. Leave a comment later on if you're watching it back on replay, because it all helps. It all helps the algorithm. And the more the algorithm, all hail, the more the algorithm works with us, the more people it gets sent out to. And we are watched all over the world. We're watched in various different states all over the US, India, Scotland, Finland, Wales. I've already said India, Australia, South Africa. So yeah, I think we just need Mars now. That'll be great. So yeah, we watched all over the place, but the community can only get bigger. So share, and subscribe, please. Thank you very much. Now we're going to go to the workbench, and this camera may not be working. It probably won't be because I can't remember which one I left it activated on. So only one way to find out. Here we go. Oh, I love it when the music times in like that. Oh no, it doesn't like it, does it? Let's still doing it. Okay, cool. It is not turned on. I can tell there's a blue light on underneath. It doesn't like us today, does it? Let's see. I was really hoping it was going to. Moving away from here then, I'm going to go back in and see if I can deactivate the camera. Now that the camera's got no feed going into it. Let's have a little look. It does not like me today. For some reason or another, I am unable to get this camera to work, and I don't know how to fix it. I have disconnected this camera and reconnected it again, and it has brought no joy. So it's actually a software problem. So that's a good thing, isn't it? And I do apologise for that in the stream. Beyond restarting the stream, it looks like that I may be stuck for now. I've got one more option, and that is to try and disconnect it right now. So what you can't see is I'm reaching across the table. I'm going to disconnect the camera. Physically, again. And reconnect it one. Don't think that's going to do anything. Have you tried turning it off and on again? Yes, I have. It's exactly what I'm doing. Thanks, though. Thanks for that. let's come away from here a minute. I've deactivated it, and I'm going to come away from it and see if like the software forgets it. Yeah, it's frozen. It's frozen everywhere, I think, Crumbs. It's just, technology. Sometimes these things happen, and unfortunately, when you run a live stream, you can't get around it. So you just kind of need to just be happy. I remember when I used to get technical problems almost every other week when I first started streaming, and I remember sweating on the collar. Oh, it was the most stressful thing. Yeah, just in general. Let me go back to the workbench one more time. No, it is definitely a software thing because the camera is not connected. So if you say, have you checked the wires? Yeah, absolutely I have. It is just a software issue. So unfortunately, we're going to have to just go to me for the next, or for the remaining part of the stream, and that's just what we're going to have to do. But it doesn't matter. It's not a big deal. We know what it is that I'm doing. I am working on this little raven. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to like hold it up so that you can see periodically throughout the show. And hopefully you'll be able to see what it is I'm working on. Oh, there you go. That's a little raven legs. So I'm currently working on the left leg. I've almost finished that left leg. What I'm doing is I'm just trying to sand off all the little attachment points from when it was printed. It was attached to the bed. So it's got like these little support structures that look like on the back of the raven head. If you remember, I had that little framework that that Kez said that did get slightly damaged when it was being removed from the supports. The supports look like that, and they're connected all over the place to stop it from flopping around in the liquid bath of resin when it's being made. When you take those off, they leave behind tiny little contact points, little dots, little digits, and it's those that I'm removing. If I don't remove them, they will show up, and you could, I suppose, try to hide it as something like it might be. Like the old-fashioned Space Marine shoulder armor, where you've got like giant rivets, dots on the shoulder pads. But we all know what mechs look like. If you're into mech world or BattleTech, we know what mechs look like. And let's be honest, most of us in the hobby industry now, we know what a 3D printer leaves behind. So I can't really get away from it. Bit of a shame. So just working in around the hip joint now, which you now cannot see. Just trying to get rid of any last little scratchy bits. There aren't really so many like those little nibs. There's none of those really kind of I hang around in the hip area. It's just like little bits of flaky resin that maybe almost like a flash on a sprue. Little bits. I don't know really how what sort of happens in a resin 3D printer, but it might be there's like a little artifact or something left over from when the laser shine. It just kind of got it wrong, or little bits that just kind of get in the way. But there's tiny little flashy bits that stick around sometimes. And it's really easy to remove them. Just going in there with a scalpel blade and just literally lifting them out. Underneath the backside of the raven, so under its groin, basically between where the two legs meet, there's quite a few of those contact points, those nib areas. And I'm just going in now with that sprue line remover from Citadel. I call it the Marmite tool because John from Out of This World Models Minis says you either hate it or you love it. That's why I call it the Marmite tool. I love it. He hates it. Going to reference the Marmite challenge now. Basically, in large open areas on the model, I'm able to get in with this tool and just scratch away a lot of that artifacting really, really quickly. I can go in with sandpaper, but sandpaper's only really good on flattish areas. And where the hips join onto the torso part, it's kind of partly rounded. And it can be a little bit tricky to get the sandpaper into some of these areas. Now you can't see it because the camera's not working. But trust me, sandpaper and the Marmite tool are needed right now. cleaned up really well, actually. I expected me to be sat on Discord after tonight's show for another hour, half an hour maybe, doing a lot of this cleanup, thinking I was going to be here for a while, because not that it's really difficult to remove, but simply because there's just a lot of it and it's in like hard to reach places and being quite fiddly, but mostly pretty simple. Really happy with how quickly it's all cleaning up and coming away, which is great. I did try filing down the print lines on top of the hip as well, where I was talking about where you've got the circular top of the leg and there are those facets on there that Kez was suggesting to keep as faceted parts rather than making them perfectly cylindrical. And it was getting quite hard to, because they're quite deep lines, it was getting quite hard to try and sand them away, and as I was starting to sand them away, it was becoming quite clear that if I pushed any harder, I'd start turning those faceted areas into a rounded area, which we've already said we don't want to do. So I'm just going to leave them. It's fine. It might even be that they're supposed to be there. I doubt it. I can see those lines on the toes as well, and I was having to push quite hard to try and sand those bits down, and again they're quite deep, so it's not working. So I could tell if I did it on the upper part of the leg, it would be really, really difficult to do, and I'd end up getting rid of all of that faceted, really hard to describe what it is, the faceted parts of that hip joint. Now, if you are just joining us, maybe you're watching this retrospectively, perhaps you're just watching it again later on and you've forgotten, the camera's not working. So if you're just tuning in for the first time, you're like, what's this all about? I can't even see what he's doing. It's not how it normally goes, and I'm really, really sorry about that. I will try and have another go in a minute. Might be able to, play around with some of the camera settings. But it's a painting club. It's a model club. I'm here to paint models and make models and whatever. And I'm just going to try and get on with it. As long as I've got your company to go along with. Hopefully, I'm providing you enough company. It doesn't really matter. Jigsaw says hi. Hi, Jigsaw. For those of you who don't know Jigsaw, it's Crumbs' cat. You can see Crumbs and Jigsaw on Discord after the show, because Jigsaw and Crumbs often come along. Oh, this requires more booze! Drink responsibly, kids. Right, so now I am well and truly on to the final part of the model, which is the right leg. I started from the top of the hip, working my all the way down. I'll go down the back of the leg to start with. There's very little on this part. I am going to sand flat, just like I did on the other leg. I am going to sand flat there as well. Although because of the legs are in kind of like different positions, what is the underside on one leg is actually the back part of the other. So the supports aren't directly on that bit. So a lot less cleaning up, actually, because it's all hidden underneath the foot, which is cool. Very nice flat angular parts on the back of the leg. It means it's very easy to go in with the sanding pads. Lovely. Oh, there's actually a little bit of nib action going on down in the ankle parts of the neck. So just going in there, making sure that's all nice and clean. Trim the edge off there. Can't see, but I'm going to narrate the whole thing to you. Oh, looks like Adrian's got to go. Got a big black fluffy thing telling him it's time for his evening walk. See you later, mate. Thanks for coming along. Sorry about the quality of the show. Hopefully normal service next time. But it's not. More on that in just a little while. I could hear chatting in the background. I know I've got a window over there, but I've got soundproof headphones on and I'm quite a way away from anywhere where someone would be having a conversation. It was my phone, the volume was up, and I could hear myself on my show. I like to watch the show over here so I can see what you guys are seeing and I can see the live chat sometimes a little bit clearer. Just as I was starting to go live, I'm like, I'm forgetting something. I haven't done something. I know what it is now. All the volumes on my phone weren't sorted out. God, I'm so unprofessional. I find myself still trying to get underneath the camera so that you guys can see what I'm doing. There's no need to worry about that today. I'm going to go back and have another look in a minute. I can select between other cameras, and I can change what you would normally see through here actually on my face, and then go back again. So it might be it might ruin everything, but it might kick it into gear. Ankle section, says Crumbs. I can't show you the ankle section here, but where the foot, if I go, yeah, here you can see it against my arm. Where the foot joins onto the leg, there's just like behind it, there's like a little hinge where the two, like a joint where the two pieces move on each other. And there was just some cleaning up to do in there. Yeah, really, really simple stuff. Actually been really, really good fun. Now, this is all very, very good practice for another miniature that I'm going to be... when I start getting a good way through this one, I'm going to start another project at the same time. Now, that is dangerous talk for any miniature lover. We've all got loads and loads of projects all on the go at the same time, and that's why they never get finished, right? So starting another one deliberately is just dangerous talk. But this one I'm hoping won't take very long. Doesn't mean I'm going to rush it or, you know, do a bad job of it or anything like that. I've just got 3 projects that all need some TLC in their setup. So like what I'm doing now, cleaning everything up and preparing it for his painting and kind of seeing how it all fits together, and you know, just all that planning and preparation. I've got just off the side over here one of the McFarlane's giant space marines. I'm going to paint him up like a Dark Angel because he's got Dark Angel markings on him. He was a gift from my dad. Thanks, Dad. And I've not painted the Dark Angel before, so you know, people are asking me, "Oh, you're going to like, you know, sculpt it up and do different Space Marine markings on it and whatever?" Nope, because I've never done a Dark Angel before, so I think it'll be really nice to do something different, do a different paint scheme that I've not done before on a totally different type of model. So that's going to be really good fun. It needs a little bit of cleanup because while it is a very nice, it is an action figure, let's be honest, but there's some really heavy mold lines on, like the gun, for example, that just needs sorting out, frankly. And I've also got the Ed 209, which was a birthday present from my dad, which is a really, really high quality resin print. So what I'm kind of learning here is going to be applied to that model as well. There's a lot of prep work to do on that. So lots of different projects all at the same go, and I can chop and change between each one as the show moves on. You keep bringing us a show week after week, so you are more professional than you think. Oh, thanks very much, man. That's a very kind thing to say. I try to be professional. I just, yeah. The problem that I've got with the camera at the moment is if the next trick that I'm going to try doesn't work, it needs the whole program to be shut down and started again. It's happened very, very rarely occasionally. It is a thing. It does happen. It hasn't happened for several years. Just a little glitch, man, and these things happen. So I could end the stream prematurely, and I know you can't really see what it is that I'm doing, and I'm probably going to lose viewers at this point. It's going to happen, right? But it's a social club, so that's why I'm sticking around. I'm not going to disappear. It's not overly important right now. Right. Right, I think we are pretty much done. Some tiny little flashy bits that you need pulling away with a scalpel. Exciting times. We are done. I think that might be Steve that's leaving us now. My legends, I have to away for food. Love you guys and the stream. Ta very much, Danny boy. No worries, mate. Thanks very much for coming along. I hope you're having a lovely evening. Perhaps I'll catch you later on Discord. Go and enjoy your dinner. Cheers. Right, I'm at a point now where I can start trying to pin the weapons to the torso section, which is a slightly more involving job to do. It's actually really good fun if you're into this sort of stuff, of course. But it can be quite tricky. So, I know you can't see what it is that I'm doing, but basically what I've got to try and do is learn or work out where and how these things get attached. And I've got to work out the dead center of that attachment point so that I can then drill a little hole, like a little pilot hole, and then I'm going to super glue a piece of paperclip wire. I've got quite a chunky paperclip. Actually, I only got the one. Years and years ago, I had like a big pot of paper clips, but they were like really like chunky, colourful ones that I got from Staples, and I've just got one left over from an era years and years ago, and I just chop it bit by bit, and it's just a really nice chunky bit of bendable wire, and I could just chop it down, drill a little hole, stick it in, and then I'll be able to match the hole up on the other side, and then just put a little bit of super glue on it, and then slot the two together. Crumb says, like that American talk show host, we doing it live, or like a news broadcaster. Yeah, man, I could. You know, I was actually watching the news the other day, and I thought, I'd do something similar to that. I couldn't do it. I couldn't. Whenever something goes wrong on the show, I just call it out straight away, and I roll with it, and I fly with it, and I laugh at myself, and I watch my shows back, and I think, what are you doing? Why are you doing that? Like, why am I doing what I'm doing right now? Why am I getting down and chatting rubbish on a show where I should be talking about miniatures? I don't know why. I couldn't be on the news doing it straight faced when inevitably something's going to go wrong. Like with a guy talking in your ear the whole time. I got distracted by my own voice playing back on my phone. I couldn't do it. Kudos to newsreaders, man. Nearly threw that down my face. Right. Let's have another try at sorting out this camera. To the workbench. It does not want to play today, does it? Okay, cool. I can try to cancel what's being viewed there. I can hide it. Will hiding work? And then unhiding it. Unhiding it works. Or hiding it works. Unhiding it just brings it back. Okay, cool. Poo pants. Let's behind the scenes a go. Right. Again, I know you can't see me. I'm going to now try and change this camera to my face. And let's see what happens. It does not like it. So this is how I can definitely tell that it's a software problem, is because despite selecting through different camera choices, it's still choosing to hold that old image there. So it is a complete system restart, well, software restart for this problem, which is a real shame. And I'm really, really sorry about that. There's literally nothing that I know that I can do about it live in the stream without disrupting the flow of the stream. So, yeah, really, really sorry about that. Because what I wanted to do next was to start pinning, and to show you how to do the pinning. What I'm going to do right now, I think, is try my best to repair that tiny bit of damage that Kez was saying when the mech was being printed and it got pulled away from the supports. That little roll cage bar on the back sort of snapped in that tiny little area. So what I'm going to do is I'll get a little bit of super glue on the end of something really thin, like a pointy stick or something, and see if I can get a little bit of super glue in there. it might not do anything. Who knows? I love this frame. Matrix glitch, I think. Yeah, it could be. I hope not, because I don't want them to change anything in the Matrix. Here's the problem, though. My super glue, once again, is welded shut, and... God dear. Don't think I've got pliers to hand. Got no pliers. I had a couple of sets up here the other day, but I've done a project downstairs and I've taken them away with me. Oh, there he goes. Do you know what? I'm way stronger than I think I am. Thanks. Right. Pointy thing. Because this, there's no point in showing it on the overhead camera, you can't see it. The nozzle's a bit blocked up with dry super glue, but I've got a pointy, pokey bradawl thing, which I can just use to unclog the nozzle with. There we go. Geoff saying, if you ever had one of those days where you just think the Matrix is out to get you, yeah, man. I was just made redundant, of course, but no. Do you know what? I know that film was made in 1999, if you can imagine that. That's crazy, isn't it? The Matrix, the original Matrix film. And I know it's been philosophically debated, but it still stands up. Like the story, I know you can like really go into it and really pick it apart, but what an incredible film. Right. I've got a little pointy stick here, which I was using with the resin earlier on, but it's basically a skewer, barbecue skewer. And it's got a really pointy fine tip, and what I'm going to do is get a bit of super glue on my paint palette, like a little blob, and I'm just going to dip the end of that skewer, cocktail stick essentially, into it, and then just dab it in the right places. There's a dollop. Brilliant. That glue up. Now, what I've got is a tiny blob of super glue on the end of the skewer, and I'm now just going to try very, very gently to lift that piece up with my big clumsy fingers. And just see if I can just turf a little bit of super glue under it. That looks like it's at least gone in the right place. Whether it actually grips and holds or not, I don't know. And now, while the two pieces are resting side by side, they're slightly out of line, I think, because they've been damaged a little bit. It's fine by me. I'm just going to sort of fill in the area. Super glue is often used by old school hobbyists as a filler, because it dries so hard and so brittle, it actually becomes sandable. So it's not a bad product to use in that respect. A little bit of leakage on the side of it there, which you can't see obviously, but I'm just using my skewer to spread it out nice and flat. And again, later on I could get the edge of my scalpel blade in there and sand it, file it down. Okay, cool, so that's the damage done there. What time are we at? We're at 20 minutes to. I'm going to try my best now to get one of these things pinned in. And I'm sure that in the future, with my Ed 209 build, there's going to be some pinning parts on there. I really wanted to do the pinning on the camera so that you guys could see it, because it's just interesting. And I don't do really building on the show. I've always focused on the painting side of it. But, yeah, I was just looking forward to being able to do the pinning today on the show. I could sit here and start masking it, but I've got to get the pinning sort of at least drilled, the positions drilled first, because I want to know how it all fits together to how the paint scheme's going to go on the actual mech itself. So I'm going to at least get the weapons drilled, and then I can like actually glue it all later on, if that makes sense. What I'm trying to do now is I've got like a hobby zone set of drill bits and a pin vise drill, which looks like this. But I could just put any one of these pieces into here. I'm just trying to find a diameter of drill that is close but not too much bigger than the paperclip piece. I'd like it to be so snug that if I didn't use super glue on it, it would still stay in there. So, for example, if this is a millimeter thick and I use 1.2, it's probably too big. I'd like 1.1 or exactly the same size. But if I go too small, I obviously can't get it in there. Kez says, won't capture the magic of the first film. Are we talking about... Oh, yeah. I was like, what are we talking about now? Remaking The Highlander with Henry Cavill. Yes. Do you know what? If anyone's going to do it, well, it'll be him, because we know that he's into that sort of stuff. Like, he's into, like, being true to it all. But here's the question. Does it need doing? The problem with Highlander, remaking it, is it was a music video, wasn't it? And I love Queen. So you're going to have Queen back in it again? All I'm doing with these drill bits is I'm just pulling out one at a time, and just working out, just by holding it up against the diameter or the cross section of this paper clip, and just going, that look about right. I'm really eyeballing it. I think I've got one here that is at least close enough that it would act as a very good pilot, and if it isn't this one, it'll be the next one up. If I start smaller, I can always re-drill and make it a bigger hole. But if I go too big, I can't, you know, I could fill it with filler, but that's just arduous, isn't it? Okie dokie, so got to get this into my pin vise drill. There are many attachment points to this. That looks like the correct one there. Lush. It's not the correct one. Frustrations. I'm having what I like to call the USB paradox moment here. You know when you put a USB connection into a USB port and it's the wrong way up. So you take it out and you turn it 180 degrees and it doesn't fit. So you take it out and turn it 180 degrees back to its original thing and then it goes back in. Yeah, I think I'm having a similar effect right there. Okie dokie. When I'm making things with a pin vise, I like to keep the length of drill bit that sticks out from the pin vise quite short, because often you'll be putting a bit of pressure on it, and especially if they're really, really thin drill bits, it's very easy to snap them, especially if they're longer, because obviously pressure. So just bear that in mind. Like if you're doing some pinning or using a pin vise, I'm not here to tell you what to do. Just be careful. Right, just gonna sand that little bit flat because there's a bit of old super glue on there, and gonna make it a little bit trickier to find the center part. tiny bit more to sand away. I can just see the shiny effect that the super glue has. If I hold this up to the screen, you probably won't be able to see anything, but can you see a little white dot just there? That's the attachment point. That's where the weapon's going to go. And I'm just trying to file that flat, so it's just easier to work through, less stuff to work through as well. It also means that I can try and find the center. Now, trying to find the center, there's probably all sorts of wonderful and special ways of doing it if you're an engineer. I'm not. I'm just in it for the fun, man. But also, it's a 50mm model. If I eyeball it and I do it well enough, I'm probably going to get it close enough that it doesn't really matter. But if you're one of those people, you do you. Now, what I've got here is a sewing needle, which I use for cleaning out the nozzle on my airbrush when I've been really lazy and I haven't cleaned it out properly. So, yeah, it's got a really, really pointy point. I'm going to use that. It's stuck on a cork so that I don't stab myself, but it's also easier to use. It's actually like a homemade tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm basically just going to try and eyeball the center of this circle where I'm going to drill into. And I'm going to push really hard when I think I've got it. So what I'm doing is I'm just resting the needle on the edge of my thumb and holding it steady with my finger. So you see that I'm holding it in this kind of weird way. My fingertip here is actually pushing against the side of the needle. And then I rest it against this thumb here like that. And it gives me a lot of stability. And when I think I found it, I just apply a little bit of pressure. And just give it a little bit of a wiggle in some sort of circular motions. And it will leave the tiniest little indentation. If I push too hard, I'll probably slip off the really hard resin and stick it in my thumb. Which will be really fun for you guys to watch. It's such a tiny point because the resin's so hard. It's left such a tiny little indentation. I can't see it, but I can feel it with the end of the needle. So I know it's there. What I'm going to do is give it some... It's stuck in there now. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to do this. And it's basically just got sort of widening up the outside edges of the hole. I can just about see it now. Hopefully... the tip of the drill will find its way in there. And then basically just putting the very, very point of the drill tip into that needle hole, and then just rotating it once, and then coming back, and then seeing it's made like a tiny little indentation, and just doing that over and over and over again. Eventually, you'll make a tiny indentation that just about fits the end of the drill in, and then you can start working. So just now applying gentle pressure, and actually just kind of pushing the drill into it. And very, very crumbly resin dust is coming out, rather than having big swells of plastic like you'd expect on a plastic moulded injection thingy, like a standard GW model, where you'll get like big swirly bits coming out. This just kind of crumbles and falls into dust. Don't breathe it in, kids. It's awful stuff for you. Okay, now I'm probably in about 0.5 millimeter or so. Now I can apply just a little bit more pressure, but not going crazy with it. At all. And now what I like to do, I don't know if you can see this very well, is I like to get my finger with my fingernail right up against, so put my fingertip on the actual drill bit, and I put my fingernail right up against the model, and then when I pull the drill bit out I can see how much of the drill bit is kind of sticking out of the top of my fingernail, and that's how much I know how far I've gone into the model. And that was about 0.5 millimeter. Really, maybe a little bit more. So now that I know that I've got a decent hole piloted, I can probably just give it a bit of beans. And after a while, sometimes you kind of feel it biting. You guys, get your heads out of the gutter. There we go. That's probably about 1 millimeter and a quarter. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the end of the paper clip, and I'm going to see if that hole that I've piloted is wide enough. it is not. So, find the next biggest drill bit. And now what I do, now that I've basically got that hole lined up, bang on where I want it to be, that is where that part is, that component is going to attach onto there. When I come to the actual weapon itself, there is like a tiny little circle on here, which I'm just going to do exactly the same process, but they're really, really narrow, they're really thin. So if I go too far drilling through it, then I'm going to come right out the other side, and that of course is really bad and not what I want. So if you're pinning things, just be careful about how crazy you go with your drill. Excuse me, my needle is sitting on the desk pointing upwards. That's dangerous, isn't it? Ah, look at that! Look, my little the stream ending thing comes up with my camera up in the top there. Software, man. The robots. Right, gonna get that drill bit out. I'm gonna pop that away, and I'm gonna get the next size. That was 0.9. We're now on 0.95. These are really good drill bits. These are just Tool Zone hobby drill bits. If you haven't got one of these in your repertoire, get them. Really good. Really, really affordable. Like a couple of quid. Okay, so essentially I've done the bit with the pin already, haven't I? So now I've got like the little hole that I've drilled in there already, which serves as a pilot. So now all I've got to do is just take my time, line this one up, pop that drill in there, and then just enlarge the circumference of the hole. And again, getting that piece of wire quite a bit bigger actually. So what I should have done is the last time I pinned something with this paperclip is I should have written it down on a post-it or something, you know, work out exactly what the diameter of that paperclip is. I'm going to jump up 2 sizes to 1.05. Crazy talk. Looking at it, it looks quite similar. Again, hole's already been mapped, so quite a bit wider this time. So I can feel it kind of really engaging and biting into the resin. And I've got a perfect fit. So now you can see that the paperclip just sticking out the side, and there's very little wiggle on that at all. So I know that the diameter of that paperclip is 1.05 millimeters. There you go. I'm not going to write that down. I'm not going to take my own lessons. Who cares? I've got vodka. Man, you're spoiling it, giving it the whole half millimeter. Every half millimeter counts, sir. Don't be screwed. Personality that counts. They don't call this man Danny the Dilator for nothing. Yikes. It's definitely getting close to the time to go to Discord, isn't it? Rightio. So, now what I need to do is that whole process all over again. But I'm going to do it on the weapon side this time. And that's going to be just a little bit trickier. And it's only trickier because the area that little circular area that I want it, that other attachment's going to fit onto, is just a little fainter. Okay, I think I've got a pretty good line up there. He said it. Do I win something for getting him to say dilate a life? No, dilation is a normal thing. Your context is just right out there. Another airbrush cleaning tool that I've got. One of those cheap things that you can buy online. It's basically just a metal spike with a flat side on it, and it also comes in handy for the situations like this. That pin that I'm using, that needle, is so pointy, so thin at the end that it doesn't really trying to get it to make a mark on this really hard resin, really quite difficult. But there's so much more substance to this tool here, so you can actually make quite a larger indentation. That the slightly larger drill bit will fit into. I've got a tiny little pilot hole, and whilst that pilot hole is really quite shallow, I can angle the drill and try to kind of move it around a little bit if it starts to look like that I haven't got it lined up as well as I wanted to. And then when it seems to be going in the right direction, then straighten up the angle, start the actual proper hole. Again, this is a really narrow piece of resin, so I don't want to go that far. Kez is heading off now. Good show. Bye bye. Yeah, if you want to call it a good show, the camera froze. You've been staring at me doing something that you can't see. But thanks for the kind words anyway. Really appreciate it. Thanks for coming along. You win our eternal love. Bye bye, Kez. Do you know what? It's probably about 1/4 of a millimetre off centre. You're not going to see it. You're not going to be able to tell the difference. So it's very easy when you've got a tiny little model up really close like this and you're painting or working or building or whatever. It's very easy to get so carried away with the tiny details that you're painting or working on, whatever. You're never going to notice it. Right, and I think that's as far as I can go there before I start drilling through to the other side. So yeah, I've now got 2 pieces that should fit perfectly together with a nice little pin in there. Now, I'm not going to need like yards and yards of this wire from the paperclip. I'm probably going to need 2 to 3 millimeters at most. But it is a very chunky piece of paperclip, So some decent wire cutters will come in handy for it. I'm a mountain biker, so I've got some cutters that are for gear cables and brake cables, and they're really heavy duty cutters with a really, really good hard metal edge. But they actually, rather than just kind of like being scissor, like traditional scissors, they actually like curve. So as they come together, they cut and pinch all the way around, which means that you don't get so much of the pinching together, where you end up kind of like with a sharp edge in the middle of your cut. But they are not right here right now. What I'm going to do basically is just cut off a piece that looks like it's the right size, stick it into these holes, and then just put the two pieces together and see if the two pieces of resin touch. If they don't, I've got to pull those pieces apart and then take that piece of wire out if I can, and then just trim the tiniest fraction off at a time, bit by bit. Or I could drill out the deeper of the holes, if that makes sense. So probably a good shout for me to do is just to make sure that I go a little bit further with the drilling, and then I've only probably got about 2 mil going through there. If I was to go just a little bit further, because I've got the space to do it on this model, this means it's a bit easier in that respect. Yeah, it's probably about 2.5 mil there. Love that. There's absolutely loads of sticking. Now, obviously, a paperclip's got lots of rounded bits on them. Sometimes those rounded bits might not be appropriate to put into the straight holes that you're drilling, but I think that I can straighten out enough of that to kind of not waste any bits of my paperclip, because it's really good pinning wire, that is. Anyway, look, we are pretty much at the end of the show. There's not a lot really more that I can do. The show has been a little bit on the irregular side, and I really and deeply apologise for that. It is out of my control within my tech level and understanding, but as far as I'm aware, I would actually either have to set up a new camera thing, which would take loads of time and be very distracting, or just shut the whole stream down. So I'm going to have a little restart off air and see what happens, and see if it's not actually a camera malfunction, which would of course be really, really bad. So, you know, I've got a spare camera, but I'm fairly certain it is just a software problem. Thank you for the stream. It was good, no matter what you think. Thank you very much. I really appreciate all the support and love that you guys give. It is very kind, but I do it for you guys. But you are considering doing Heresy Era Sanguinary Regard in silver? Were they silver and not gold? So peculiar. We've got a few viewers left. I can see the viewer count up at the top there, and that's really nice. So if you've watched all the way to the end here without actually being able to see what I'm doing, thank you so much. And it was totally unnecessary, but clearly people come here for the hobby hangout, so you're welcome. And hopefully it'll be better next time. Next time, we won't be on Friday. There's a very good reason. So next Friday, the 6th of December, we will not be live on air on Friday evening, because myself, Stafford in the live chat right there, and one of our other viewers, Dave, they form a part of my road trip team. We're going to Pudsey in the north of England, just between Bradford and Leeds, for the Recon show again. We went there last year, we're going again this year. We've been invited to go along by Matt from the Pit Gaming Shop. Thank you so much for the invite, Matt. Really looking forward to going. Last year was a bit of a kind of a tester. We've never really been behind a table before doing what we do. Again, it's kind of a bit of a tester again this year, but this year what I'm going to do is actually run a proper live stream from there. So what you're missing out on next Friday, you'll be able to kind of catch up with me next Saturday. So yeah, that's what I'm going to be doing. I might see if I can try and carry on with this model for a little bit. I've also got a 1/35th Panther that I started doing right back at the very, very beginning of Easy 8's conception that still needs weathering. So I might take that along with me as well, and just use the time to kind of do some stuff that doesn't require so much stuff to take away with me, because I can't take all of this, you know, 10 feet down the road, yet alone all the way to the north of England. So yeah, if you are local to the north of England, if you're anywhere near Bradford and Leeds, come along for the day. It's just for the one day, so it'll be on the Saturday, which is the 7th of December. Come along, see all the other wonderful traders, meet Matt and the Pit Gaming Shop crew, because they're a wonderful bunch of lads. And yeah, go and pick something up, go buy something, get stuck into a hobby, play a couple of games, come and see us, because we're going to be playing games, talking to you guys. I'm going to be doing a live stream around about midday on the Saturday, so that's the 7th of December. That's terrible timing. We're starting a new Vampire the Masquerade Chronicle the day before. Oh, I'm so sorry, mate. But do you know what? If you can't make it, you can always watch the live stream or watch it back on replay if you want that hobby hangout time. That's absolutely fine. If you don't, it is a little bit irregular. We're just going for the hoot and the networking and the connections and stuff. So yeah, there probably won't be any daytime drinking. So in the second half of that show, there probably won't be a grown-up juice. Maybe there will. Who knows what's going to happen? So that's what's happening next week. Anyway. That's enough from me this evening. I'm going to now go straight over to Discord. I might be a minute while I'm sorting out the camera, making sure that's all working fine. Going to head over to Discord now. So if you want to come and join me with a live video chat with me and some of the other guys there, you're more than welcome to. Don't forget that if you like what we do here on the show, please do consider subscribing. We've had a subscriber live today on the show, and it's really important to make the community grow. So if you want more friends and you want to kind of spread it easy out everywhere, subscribe if you haven't, share if you have, get them to subscribe, give it a thumbs up. That's this video and any other video that you come across from Easy 8, and later on maybe come back and watch it again and leave a comment in the comment section, because every time you do something like that, you interact with the show in some way, it affects the algorithm. All hail the algorithm. So yeah, that's that really. Stuff's going, no, I don't know why I'm saying that. That's enough for me this evening. Thank you so much for coming along. Until next week, the Saturday the 7th, stay safe, be kind, keep on painting, get some colour on your grey. See you soon. Bye bye. Happy birthday to your son. What a lovely day. So sorry about the camera, guys. Take care.